Hi Scott, I was asking about his about the vet and stuff because of his back end, and I'll see if I can show it to you here. So there he's just pacing, but if you watch his back legs, this left one, it rings out, his hock rings out, and the right one actually rings in. Let me see if I'll go. And I slowed it down, so I'll probably catch it on that to show it to you. But what happens is this hock kind of goes out, his ankle comes in, and then this hock actually comes in and his ankle goes out. But when I saw the trotting video, he looked pretty good there, and then he actually foxtrotted too. So here he's fine. That's his flat walk, but he's very heavy on his front end. Now he's pacing. He's pacing. And maybe you can see his legs moving. Caught it a little bit there. Okay, so, but by seeing what he does with his legs helps me to know what to have you work on. The front legs look pretty good, but the back legs, they kind of cross over each other. They're crossing over each other. This one's ringing out, this one's ringing in, and then he's kind of stepping to the inside of his front foot. There, he's just pacing again. So on the lunge line, he just paces, and he occasionally does that little canter step, but he didn't trot at all on the lunge line. Okay, so that's all pacing. So he just doesn't know how to use himself well. Maybe there you can see his hind quarter a little bit. And so he's just swinging his legs instead of placing them down and separating them. There he had a little flat walk, just a little bit over there for a couple of seconds. So his regular slow walk looks fine. But this is a horse that needs to be ridden with some collection, and he needs to be taught how to drive with his back end instead of just pulling with his front legs and swinging his back legs around. He just doesn't use himself very well, and so we want to make his back end a lot stronger, because right now he's way too heavy on his forehand. And I don't know if he's trippy, but that usually makes a lot of horses trippy. So there he's just pacing again. And then watch his back legs. So pacing, little hop step, and then the hocks are kind of, the left one's ringing out, the right one's ringing in. So that makes it more difficult for him just because of his back end and the way it's moving, and it makes him look like he's off. So that's why that trotting video is very helpful for me to see that he's not off, it's just the way that he moves. Okay, so this is in slow motion. So the left hock, you're gonna kind of see that turn out. And everybody always thinks it's their fetlocks, because their fetlocks turn when they do that movement, but it's actually up in the hip region that it's starting, and then it migrates down their leg, and then you see them twisting and turning with their legs down below. Video so you can see. So here it is in slow motion. So see that left hock ring out, the right one kind of comes in, and then you'll see it down in his ankle as well. See how that comes out? And the right one kind of comes in. So that makes it difficult for him. And he kind of crosses his back legs over each other. At least on that right side, he's kind of tightrope walking. The left one's actually tracking up underneath his left front foot, but that hock is ringing out. I'll show you again. So watch that back end closely. So watch what's happening with the legs, how they're kind of twisting and turning. Just watch the back ones, not the front ones. I don't know if you can see that twist and turn. So he gets along pretty well for all that having going on back there. And he actually looks pretty muscled up. His top line looks quite good as well. So you've done a good job, but we want to make him so much better. This is a good one. Watch. Right about here, I think I caught it pretty good. See that twist in that hock? Okay. So what he does while he's pacing is he's kind of hopping side to side. So that gives you that suspension, and that's why you get the bounce in the saddle. So we need him to place all his feet down just like he does at his walk. But here he's pacing, so you'll see a lift in his back, and it'll kind of look like he's hopping some. So he did do a flat walk in part of the video, not very much, but he never did do a running walk. So he just doesn't know how to do it himself, and he doesn't know how to use his body correctly. Sorry for the sunshine that's coming in on the video. So if you just have the round pen, there's exercises I can give you to do in the round pen if you don't have an arena. And otherwise, I can also give you exercises to do out on the road, which is where you are here. He does not walk very straight. If you watch him in this video, he kind of wobbles around. So he's not holding a straight line. So we want to hold him in a straight line. All his weight is on his front end right now. Probably about 80% of his weight is on his front end. That's your flat walk. It just doesn't look very good right now. And then he's out of it. And he does have that overreach. So there he popped up into the canter. So that's good. At least it'll be easier to teach him to canter because so many people have a canter problem. But this is all a pace here. And then a canter step. And he does that because he want to go faster. And he's like, this is easier for me to do. So that's him trotting, but he kind of did a foxtrot right there. So it's a diagonal gait, but that's good to see that he can do that. And then the other part, he actually did a flying lead change when he went cantering off, and then he switched to the other side. But watch what his back legs do when he gets over here. Sorry, it kind of went blurry. But see, his back legs are kind of all over the place. So we need to help him with that. But he did trot there, and he looked pretty, you know, I didn't get to see him trot long, but he looked pretty sound, and he did good for cantering downhill. He didn't fall down. He didn't slip and fall on his face. So he doesn't look neurologic. He just looks like he has some bad conformation in the back, and we need to do some things to help him. Okay, so here he paces and then he step paces a little bit. So a pace is when both legs come off the ground at the same time and land at the same time. A step pace, which is very close to it, both the legs come off the ground together, but then the back one lands and then the front one lands. And then if you watch your body, you'll see you're bouncing, and then your hands are bouncing up and down because he's getting suspension in his step. So let me turn it on. So you were right. He is gating. It's just not the gait we want. But he's very bouncy there because you're getting the suspension from the pace. And then he did that little canter step there. And he's still pacing. It's close to a step pace, but okay. Okay. So you look like a very nice rider. Your leg's in the correct position. You're tilted a little bit forward, which is good because he's pacey. So that's a good way to tilt the pelvis forward to see if you can help him. And your shoulders are actually fine too, because you want to be tilted more forward because you're trying to get more of your weight on his front end to help him with the pace. But we want to get more of his weight on his back end. Very good eye contact. You're looking straight ahead. So you're a very nice looking rider up there. I would like to see either a bit, the bitless bridle. If you have that, we could do that, but he might still be a little bit heavy in it. So I want to see what kind of bits you have that we could use. So he looks very calm. All the weight is on his front end, which is okay because you're walking slow. But he's moving okay, but he's kind of strung out. Now here he gets distracted. His head comes up and he looks and he actually starts walking much better. So that's helpful to see. And there his head carriage was okay, except of course he started cantering. So here for him, his head's a little bit, well, it's up and down, and then he's kind of strung out and he's just pacing. Now I want you to watch your rein contact. I know he's just in a noseband, but it keeps kind of getting floppy, and then it looks like he's just leaning on your hands. Okay, and then he goes off to cantering again. So here this looks a little bit better, but what I want you to do is we want to get a bit, And we're going to try and get him to carry his head similar to this, maybe his nose tucked in a little bit, but we don't want his head way down here, which it was when he was walking. It was kind of getting below his chest. And then we want him first to, if we're going to do it on the road, he's got to learn to stay in a straight line, and we have to get him to give to the bit, but we want to keep his head up a little bit. We don't want his head real low or leaning on the bit. And I just want you to practice walking and staying straight. Then I want you to do that for like 5 to 10 minutes back and forth on the road. And then what I would like you to do is ask him to walk a little bit faster. And as he walks faster, we got to make sure that he's not leaning on the bit, that his head's staying in the same position, and that we get him giving to the bit. And I think he'll have a pretty decent flat walk. Then we're going to have to stay at that on that road for probably a couple of weeks, trying to get him to engage and build his strength up. If this is the only place you have, I would like to put some poles out there. You can get them at Home Depot, and we can throw them about, I don't know, every 20 feet apart, because I know you had a big long area to ride. And that'll help also to separate his legs. And then as you get closer to the poles, I'm going to have you pick up a little bit of speed, and then the poles will help to separate his legs so he doesn't go to pacing. But as you do that, you do have to keep more contact. I need you to keep a straight rein up to your hand instead of having any loop in it, because if he has a loop, what he chooses to do is pace because he's trying to do the easiest thing. So we're going to have a straight rein, and you're going to be pressing with your leg. You're going to half halt with your hand, so you're going to squeeze and relax while you're pushing with your leg, and keep him walking right over that pole, but we're not going to let him pace anymore. Every time you speed up, if he paces, I want you to stop, back up, go back to walking, and then slowly speed back up. We want to associate that pace with something that's not so fun, and the backing up will also help to strengthen his hind quarter. I asked if you have any hills, because if you have any hills, then we want to start walking up those hills and making him engage his back end. It will lighten his front end, and we want to teach him to drive with that back end. And I'll attach some videos for you so you understand what I'm talking about. And then what I would do for here also is get some poles. And it looks like you might have, I don't know, 40 or 50 feet. And what I would do is put poles around this arena so you can lunge him over it. If you have a surcingle and side reins and to use with the bit, that would be the most benefit of helping him. Because if we just let him go loose like this and he's just walking over the poles, he's just going to be lazy. And so he's probably going to hit them. He's not going to pick his feet up or engage himself very well. And we might have to have him on a little shorter rope. So every time you ask him to speed up, if he starts to pace like that, you're going to wiggle that rope and slow him back down. I like to do it in the surcingle and side reins, because then the horse knows when he can just pace and run around and warm up versus when I'm actually working him. So there he's just pacing, but over here you just had a flat walk before. So pacey horses, you can work on their gait from the ground. The trotty ones, it's much harder to do. So there he's still pacing, trying to see if you got the flat walk. So here you got the flat walk, but it's only a couple of steps. Right there, he's flat walking. Then he goes right back to pacing. So we're going to wiggle the rope, slow him down. But again, if you can do it with the surcingle and the side reins, he'll understand and get better so much faster, because we'll be able to set his head. And with the side reins, if they lean, they're just leaning on themselves. So it actually teaches them a fair amount from the ground. So I'll attach some information, some guidance videos on what to do and what I recommend. And then I would do that for 2 to 3 weeks. And then if you can, send me more videos so I see how you've progressed. So there he's almost flat walking, but it's a little slow. Right there he had it right before he went to pacing. But again, he only got a couple of steps. So I think he has the talent to do it. He just doesn't know. And he seems to be a little bit more on like the lazy side. Let's take it easy and not do it if we don't have to do it. And the stronger he make his back end, it'll help more with the ringing of those hocks. So that'll keep him, sound for longer in his life as he gets older.